Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show. And now let me say, this is a pre-recorded show. Even though it's showing live, it's pre-recorded. Yeah. So if you're making comments and I'm not putting your comments up on the screen or you're asking questions, that's why. But we will try and get to those questions in those comments. And when we're traveling like we will be doing, it's very iffy whether we're going to have Wi-Fi or not. So that's why this show is pre-recorded.
Usually not enough bandwidth. Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yep. Too many people trying to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to remind everybody just following this show, Voice of Indie Podcast on blogtalkradio.com with hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gary G's. Great time to interact with their guests as well, their authors. Or you can go to Twitter and go to @FreshInkGroup and see the pinned tweet there. Mm-hmm. You'll see who's going to be on the show and link up to the show. Mm-hmm. And you can comment using hashtag Fresh Ink Group, not French, Fresh Ink Group. And they'll get those comments and they'll ask the questions or make the comments on the air. Or you can call in to area code 516-453-9902 and be talking right on the show live. Mm-hmm. That's every Wednesday right after our show is their show.
Right.
It works out pretty good. This coming Saturday, as episode rewind, is 5:30 p.m. Right here where you're watching right now. This Saturday, October 1st, will be episode 44. And the author is James Snichowski. I always have trouble with James's name. I wonder why.
Poor James.
Poor James. He's a wonderful author and has wrote some very impactful books. So be sure to tune in then. Other than that.
Well, speaking of impactful, we have a very impactful author for you tonight. Her name is SHARA Lewis-Campbell. Not only is she an author, but she is also a publisher in many continents, not just her own. She's coming to us from London today, and she has a lot to talk about. So why don't we bring her on?
Why don't we? Come on in. Hi, SHARA.
Hi, SHARA. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much, Rob and Joan, for having me.
Thank you for being on. Just think about it. If authors wouldn't be on our show, we wouldn't have a show.
We'd be sitting here talking to ourselves.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started writing, how you got started publishing, the whole 9 yards, everything you're involved in.
Sure. I think as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be an author. So I think for as long as I could read, I think that's a place where I sort of started with my journey, was as an avid reader. So I would get through quite a few publications like a day. So I could read maybe about, I would say anything from about, say, 3 to 5, from like the tender age, from about, say, 7 upwards. So, I was constantly reading. It would always be found in a book. And I think that's really what sparked my interest in, becoming an author. And it was the only thing I ever wanted to do, that and traveling. So I would be, constantly writing through school. I would be great at English. It was my favorite subject. And I can guarantee you that, whenever I wrote something like a story or something, it was always read, by the tutor, at the time. So, that was where it happened for me. And then back in, even before then, I was going to say just before, I would say like when I was like fresh out of school and things like that, I was still writing and, honing in on my craft, as it were. And I would do like my A-levels and do really well with that. So it really sort of sparked my interest. And I realized, well, my stepfather was always urging me to go away and do a degree with it. But, we didn't have any connections. There was lots of traditional publishing and no independent publishing at that time. So I felt very despondent with that and didn't pursue it as a course, except as a hobby. So I had loads of material. And when I did my A-levels, the tutor there came to see me at my home one day, and he said to me, I really think you should, take this up as a hobby. He says, like, you're really gifted with this. And again, I didn't do anything with it. And, I just continued as I was, just working like everybody else, doing a 9 to 5 and just passing the time of day, but still, consistently writing. And then, I remember I'd sort of did an initial degree in psychology, which I didn't use. There were some complications with that as well, because it wasn't chartered as it was told to us it was. So I'd have to go away and do more study, and it wasn't really for me. And it certainly wasn't authoring. So, I decided, my stepfather literally badgered me for 10 years to go away and do an English degree, which I did. And it was then when I did a sort of module on writing fiction, and I decided at that time that I was just, I got a first for it, and I decided then that I was going to, when I finished the degree, I was going to go and utilize this in some way in becoming an author. And I still really didn't know much about the independent scene or anything like that. Halfway through my degree, I'd find myself working as an editor for a small magazine, and I published in there 3 times, and that did very, very well. And it's where I sort of learned all my publishing skills and honed a bit more about my writing, and still writing, but I was very much doing it in secret. I wasn't telling anybody that I was doing it, and I was a shy writer, and I wasn't, I felt that I wrote from a very genuine place, and I wasn't quite willing to share that information with anybody else at that time. I was very protective of the work, and nobody. I'm the first writer in my family, so it wasn't as if I was, had loads of support to kind of share, or people that were experts in this field to share this information with. So I never did. And then after I finished my degree, I decided, right, this was it. I was going to go away and become an author. And at that time, it would involve me traveling to Australia, which I would end up living there for 4 years. And during that time, I would still do lots of traveling as well. So I was really living out my best life, as it were, traveling, writing, and, just as I visualized it, as a kid, as I was saying to you, I was now doing that, writing about my experiences. And, when I moved to Australia, I would suffer, I would meet someone there, and that's how I, and that was the romantic part of it. And but whilst I was out there, I would also suffer and incur quite a lot of racism and prejudice. And and that's what really spurned, I felt compelled to write about it. And that's what McGoran's Beach is about. It's about this beach romance.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me bring up that book while we're thinking about it. Let me show the cover. There you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes, that's where it was. That's the one. Yeah. So
Beach.
That's right. So in this particular book, in this first book, it really just sort of outlines the story of the romance, and not so much. It doesn't go into great detail. It just kind of gives you a really sort of in-depth outline as to why I was there, how that came about, why I would end up there for 4 years, and talks about, you sense it doesn't go into any of the racism or anything like that at the time, but you sense that something's going to transpire,
Okay.
And it's written in third person character as well, so I don't sort of let on that I'm the person that's the book is about, at the time.
Right.
It's based on a true story. And then at the end of it, I give the big reveal, and I tell them that it's myself that's gone through this, experience. And then that comprises like the second book, which I write a year later. And I must say as well, the first and second book are all written in real time. So as the events occur, I write about them. And the betrayal, McGorran's Beach, the betrayal, really goes into a lot of detail as to the events, and breaks it down a lot more. And
let me tell the listening audience who are not watching. The first book is McGorran's Beach, and that's what SHARA was just talking about. And then McGorran's Beach, the betrayal, is the second one. So that's the second year that she is there.
That's right.
Go ahead now. So does that go more into the racism that you were facing?
Yeah, it goes into the racism and the prejudice. So it really does explain it all. I mean, there's nothing that's left out, in regards to that. So that second book just really breaks down all the information, all the different experiences I went through in great detail. So I think the first book was like about 90 pages, about 90, 100 pages. And the second book is almost 400 pages, so it really does break down the detail of it. But what it does in the second book, which is what's really, the theme that I think is depicted all throughout, is the overcoming the adversary, that I went through, the being stranded, where I was stranded in the second book. I don't want to give too much away, otherwise people want to see it. There's parts of it where I'm sort of left stranded on my own. So I've traveled, Australia was never a place that I'd been to before 2016, but it was a place that I'd always wanted to go to, as long as I'd always wanted to become an author. So, the two coincided really, really well for me. So it talks about those experiences and what I went through, but it also talks about how I was able to overcome it as well. And I think that's the really important part for me in the book. So when people, I wrote those two books, they're my first two books, and I think in all, I've done like 8 or 9 publications altogether. So, after the second book, I was quite drained and wanting to, and the second book kind of hones in on like the second and third year of my time in Australia, and then like the last book, which is currently being written, which is McGorran's Beach, Lies and Deceit. And that has a whole new book cover because I wanted to take a good amount of time out from it. I felt quite drained after the second book, and just wanted to write about other things that interested me, I didn't want to come across as a one-trick pony. And I think that if I had written this third book after the second book, I don't think I would have wrote. I think it would have put me off writing for life, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm glad
you
that
would have been done.
Yeah, I would have been, definitely. So,
so the cover, for those that are just listening and not watching the vodcast, I just want to mention that the covers of both McGorran's Beach and McGorran's Beach, The Betrayal, are both very pretty. It looked like an Australian beach to me.
Colorful beach.
And
scenes,
but Lies and Deceit is very dark.
Yeah.
It's dark cliffs, dark water,
Stormy
dark
skies.
sky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very different, isn't it?
Does that mirror what's being told in Lies and Deceit?
I think that I would say two things in that McGorran's Beach is actually a beach in Australia. So that's the beach where this all took place. And it's a 90-mile beach as well. And it looks nothing like the beach that you see on the covers of my books. And the reason for that is because it wouldn't have told the story in the right way for me. It was very intense, my time in Australia. I don't think that many people have experienced it the way I have when I was out there, which was unfortunate. But there was also some very great things to come out of Australia for me. It helped to put me in the position that I'm in today, which I can't complain about at all. And I'm in a very, very happy place indeed. I couldn't ask for more, in terms of where my career has led me to. But yeah, I just think that the McGorran's Beach for me, the story that I tell is a very different one than the time that I've experienced on McGorran's Beach. I loved it there, you know. Not many Australians do actually on McGorran's Beach because it's very open. So, you know, you get a lot of sort of direct sunlight and it can be quite windy and so forth. But as a beach, I really loved it. You know, it's
what part of Australia is that in?
It's in Melbourne, but it's in South Gippsland. So it's yeah, it's down there. I'm surprised I remember that after all this time.
Let's go on to a couple of your other books here too. Beauty and the Beast, Two Souls Connected by Divine Literature. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So that particular book is, I don't know where it ranks. I don't know if it's my fourth, fifth, or sixth because I kind of stopped counting with them because a lot happens for me day to day. But that particular book, we wanted to tell the story of how our company got together, and it's very unique with myself and my business partner as to how we formed the company, and it's quite a unique setup even today as we speak, but it's a very successful one now. It's just recently won an award, so we're now an award-winning company, which we became in July. Yeah, so I'm so chuffed, and we had no idea either that we were even up for an award, which is even makes it even more so splendid to receive it. Yeah, those are the best kind of awards, right? When you don't know that you're actually up for them. So it kind of tells that story, and I believe it's next year that we are going to actually be doing the film or the movie for that as well, because it's quite a unique and interesting story. So
wonderful!
That's awesome.
Congratulations!
You'll have to let us know when that happens.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, we'll do.
And then this next one is Humanity at Work.
Yeah, very, very proud of this book indeed. So this book here is part of my non-profit organization, which I run with the main author that is shown on the book there, Mac Bogart, and also my business partner and a range of other friends as well that all wrote for this book internationally from all around the world. We all came together. There was over nearly 40 of us, I believe, that contributed to that book. And really, it's a charity book where all the proceeds go to Doctors Without Borders, that wonderful charity that do some amazing work. And we just wanted to really tackle, especially after the pandemic, I think anybody leading up to the pandemic and COVID, etc., probably would have denoted that workplaces themselves were becoming quite depressive. You know, people were under a lot of stress, you know, prior to COVID and probably during and since. But especially leading up to it, I think workplaces had become sort of, some of them had become quite depressive, quite negative as well, where people were not being valued, and there were high sickness levels, mental illness, and, you know, health and wellness issues, etc. So I think that COVID, although it was a very scary and unprecedented time, also gave us a lot of time to kind of think, you know, within ourselves, what are we doing, you know, to ourselves, to each other, you know, we're burning ourselves out, you know, we're not doing the jobs that we want to do, we're not very committed, you know, we're just there as it is, you know, it was all very negative.
Can you describe the cover for us and the meaning behind it?
So it's a collection of hands, and they're all put together to form what should be like the brain, you know, and how we should function. So, and they're all different hands of all different, you know, walks of life and races and so on.
It's a pretty cool idea.
I think so too.
It's quick for a commercial.
Okay, we have to take a quick commercial break. For those of you watching or listening, don't go away. We'll be right back. Just sit right where you are, SHARA. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
They thought the siren was dead.
In
In the novel, Siren Song, by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
At Indie Book Source, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
In a world where advancing technology is outpacing crime solving, the O'Rourke team continues their relentless pursuit of justice. Bioprints is the first book in the O'Rourke crime novel series where it's high-tech crime versus old-fashioned detective work. Visit carternovels.com or amazon.com and check out Bioprints today. And we're back.
Welcome back. I have one more book to go through. No, two.
Two more.
Here we go. Poetic Declarations.
Yeah, love that book. So that's how I met that's the first book myself and my business partner ever published. And that was way before we even had our publishing company. So this would mark the sort of the beginning of our sort of union, as it were, as co-authors. And this was the first time I would have co-authored with anyone. So we weren't even business partners at this time. You know, this was just someone who was very keen to publish, and we're in extraordinary circumstances. So I agreed to, felt compelled really to actually, after hearing their story, to publish their first work, and this would be it. So yeah, really pleased.
That's really interesting. In 39 Steps, The Nation's Glory.
That's right. I published that. That's actually my second book. So I published McGorran's Beach first, then this one, and just because I was so keen to publish again, you know, and just say that I wanted to, you know, I was very keen to publish. And that one there is very special to me, actually. I actually presented that or started working on that piece, that book there, as part of one of my novels for one of my writing fiction courses that I did at uni. And I would then go on to develop it a bit more. And I got a first for that. So I would then go on to develop it a bit more thereafter the course and publish it as well as a novel.
You want to tell us what it's about a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's actually a parody based on one of my heroes, which is Usain Bolt, you know, the Olympic runner. So yes. It's based on him. So I just basically wrote a short story about him and around one of his races, and that's why it's called that.
39 Steps.
Yeah.
Now I get it. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about? Your publishing, your nonprofits, anything else you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that obviously I have a publishing company, Beauty and the Beast Publishing. We've had that 2 years. It's now an award-winning company, so I'm so very, very proud of that fact. We got the award back in July and we earned that from the Black British Olympics Expo USA. So we're very pleased to have that award and acknowledgement from them. Outside of that as well, I own two nonprofits, not myself, but as a collective. So we own the Humanity at Work Foundation, as I mentioned, which is a part of that book that you showed earlier. And that's all the proceeds for that go to Doctors Without Borders. We're currently working on the second book series for that, and still deciding on to determine which charity will get the proceeds for that. It'll be a different one other than Doctors Without Borders, and that will be kind of like the process for sort of every book that we bring out under that non-profit organisation. And then outside of that, I have I'm also co-founder of The Shift, which is another non-profit, and we look at ways of creating generational wealth through writing, as well as sort of raising awareness and fundraising for that organisation as well, and also looking at ways of creating and developing generational wealth for upcoming generations. So that's very important to us. And then outside of all of that, and back to the writing, I'm also a writing coach as well, at the co-founder of the Snazzy Jars Writing Academy, where we teach people everything that we know to do with both book composition and publishing as well. So, and we also, I will say, something I don't probably say enough, as well as the book publishing, we also have the media services department as well, and we also produce and write screenplays for movies as well.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's what do you find now? Do you author the screenplays, or do other people author the screenplays?
I do them as well, but we have a team that does them. So yeah.
Okay. So you personally, do you find writing screenplays more difficult, or just as difficult, or more easy, or just as easy as writing a book?
I think with the screenplays, there's a lot more restrictions in terms of how they look, so in terms of how they're set.
Yeah.
In the ones that I have written, I can say that I've enjoyed them in that time when I did those, but I would prefer to write books. That's me. I would prefer to be an author, but at the same time, I get as much satisfaction, I can't say more, but as much satisfaction in being a publisher for other people as well, for other aspiring authors. It gives me so much joy to be a part of their legacy and then be a part of mine, and to know that around the world, at least over 70 people currently, when they're doing what I'm doing, and somebody's asking them how they got started, etc., at some point I'm going to be a part of that conversation for them, or not so much me, but the business that we have, and or me, it's all very much encompassing. So, or the team, etc., and that's always going to be the buzz for me, really, because whilst I'm a part of their legacy, it's an exchange of legacy, isn't it? Building, so they form a part of mine as well, and yeah, it's just really nice to have those connections and to be making that difference in the world. It really is.
Yeah, we love having this platform where we can give authors the chance to be known and heard, and for people to meet them. It's fun, and it's great to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, people, if we're getting a bunch of feedback, but
Why?
probably because this is transatlantic.
That could be.
Gremlins.
It's Gremlins in the machine. SHARA, of course, is in London, and we are in Tampa Bay, Florida, so bear with us, people. Now, I know something that all of our authors always want to ask that are watching the show and that are usually in our audience. Are you a plotter or are you a pantser? And you've heard those terms before, right? Yeah.
I would say probably a plotter, more so, of the two.
You realize you're in the minority, right?
Yes, I love the question.
Yeah, we have one of the authors who's been on our show and is sometimes in the audience is Linda Pirtle, and she's married to Caleb Pirtle. Caleb is a pantser, and Linda is a retired English teacher / principal, and she is definitely a plotter. So it's an interesting concept. I think that a lot of people are maybe hybrid.
Yeah,
Fall somewhere in the middle of that.
I agree. Yeah.
Because you have to have a little bit of plotting to...
I think so, definitely. Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're definitely more pantsers than...
Yeah, but every once in a while you have to set down some, outline, to see where you're at so you don't get lost.
Yeah, exactly. It helps me to keep on track.
Yeah. Well, I like to research. And so when I research, I keep a lot of notes. Yes. And obviously, otherwise, why do the research? You're not going to keep notes of it. But those notes are really helpful when you're wanting to do something. And that's the same thing with plotting. It's really helpful when your characters get carried away and start going down the garden path.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's nice to see how they evolve, it's especially, I think, as well, when you have the luxury of sort of writing a series like McGorrin's Beach, and it's based on a true story, you have the freedom to kind of do what you want with it, because it's only you that knows what parts of it, is actually the true story. And what parts, it's for everyone else to determine, did that really happen? Or I don't want to ever want to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah. Has anyone ever asked you, did that really happen?
Yeah, they do. They say to me, I can't believe that's happened more than anything else. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I know that even in our books, ours are definitely, fiction.
Fiction.
And but some of the things that we've written in there, because they're murder mysteries, are really disturbing.
Yeah, I can really resonate with that as well. In some of the work that I've published for other people, I even feel as well, even some of my own work, some of the experiences that we've written about, are very much sensitive, issues.
Yes.
You have to have a certain sort of strength and mindset to kind of cope with, very strong subjects.
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably some of our books need to have a warning for people that, for certain things, because it could be a trigger.
Exactly. I have them in mind. McGorrin's Beach has them.
Yeah. Well, our audience already knows this, but my Rob and I have been together for 46 years, but I had a previous marriage, and it was an abusive marriage. I was married to a narcissist, and it wasn't a good thing. So even now, after many years and, having a really happy life, things can still trigger me and push me back into a place that I'd rather not go.
I agree. And to be honest with you, I mean, I suppose that can be said for a lot of the experiences that some of us may go through.
Yes.
Sometimes you just probably feel unfairly treated, or you feel some sort of unjust. And, if you're ever reminded of that, or sometimes you don't need to be, you could be just in your own space doing nothing, and that thought just comes back there. And it takes you back there for that time, and you kind of have to sort of counsel yourself out of it to remind yourself how far you've come, and since then, but I think that some of those more traumatic experiences, I think they're very difficult to overcome, and they always keep you kind of mindful and a little bit wary. They shape us, don't they?
Oh, definitely. Everything that you go through makes you who you are today, and it all depends on how you respond to situations. We can't go through life blaming other people.
No.
You need to, even when they've abused you, it's your response that counts.
That's right. And it's how you deal with that.
That's right.
Going forward.
Yeah,
exactly.
And sometimes people need help to respond correctly. So
exactly. And I think we just all have to bear in mind that sometimes if you have been unfairly treated or unjustly treated, it's never really about you. It's always usually about that person and where they're coming from, you know?
It's always
Right.
about that person.
That's right.
It always is. There was a period of time when I was in sales, and I like everybody to like me, and I like everybody. And
Right.
so my family was really surprised that I could do sales, because you're put in situations where not everybody's going to like you.
No, they're not.
And it never bothered me when people would come in and be very upset about what I did. Was I was in charge of Home Depot is a big
Yes, I know Home Depot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of all of their sales that they did for putting in windows and doors. And so we're talking tens of thousands of dollars for jobs. And if it's not done to the person's satisfaction, they're going to be a little upset when they come back to see you.
Yeah, of course.
And it never bothered me, because I knew that if I were in their situation, I would also be very upset.
Exactly. Yeah.
If I'd spent $40,000 on windows, I would expect them to be perfect and not crooked or not unable to open. So we had to fix that, and they could yell all they wanted at me, and I didn't take it personally, which I know shocked a lot of people that I was
That's character building, though, and
sure is.
Yeah, and I personally, I feel like, it's again, like you just quite said, it's not about you, it's about them. And I would be understanding of that as well. I'd be the first person if I got something and it wasn't accordingly, I would probably come back and I'd probably express how I felt about that as well at the time.
However, you could express it in a way that wasn't screaming in somebody's face.
No,
so,
I wouldn't. Definitely not.
And I wouldn't either. But I never did get upset with the people who did, because that really was them, not me.
Yeah, exactly. That's out of your control.
The problem with the product, that's on me.
Yeah.
The problem with your attitude and the way you express it, that's on you.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
Yell until you can't talk anymore, and then we'll come to a solution.
That's right. You're slightly different from me, though, Joan. I mean, I hear you. I think we've all come from a place where at some point we all wanted to be liked, etc.
Oh, yeah.
But I think today, I think I'd rather have the respect than the like. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm not here to be liked. I'll say that. I'm just here. If people like me, that is really a bonus, I think. But I'd like to think that I'm a likable person. I think I would go as far as that. And I would like to think that people do warm to me. But if they don't, I understand too. Just as much. I have a
pretty strong personality, so most people either like me or dislike me.
Sure.
And again,
I like that too.
Like you said, I don't really care.
No, doesn't really matter.
But you're right. If they do respect me, that's good. I would prefer that everybody liked me, because I generally like everybody.
Sure.
Actually, we do care if the sponsors like us.
So we better
take our second break. When we come back, we're going to tell you everybody how to contact you,
how to
and
contact
our
SHARA.
book giveaway. Okay.
Come back, because we'll have the book giveaway, and we'll give you all of SHARA's contact.
Exactly. Here we go.
Okay.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City and the Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
And we're back.
Welcome back. All right, people, let's get right to it. So, first of all, if you want to peruse all of her books and everything going on, you need to go to SHARA's website, and that is beautyandthebeastpublishing.net, Beautyandthebeastpublishing.net.
.net.
And if you don't know how to spell .net, I'm just sorry. Twitter is @SLewis-Campbell1. S @SLEWISCAMPBELL1. Facebook, I've already spelt this, Beauty and the Beast Publishing. So that's easy. LinkedIn is s.space-Lewis-Campbell, LEWIS-CAMPBELL. And on Instagram, you can find her on Beauty and the Beast Publishing. And her email, and I'm going to leave this up here because we'll be doing the book giveaway soon, is us@beautyandthebeastpublishing.net.
Okay, so
All right.
the book giveaway itself, get your typing fingers ready, guys. Here we go. Book giveaway. The first 3 people to email us@beautyandthebeastpublishing.net will win an ebook of choice of any of the books basically that we've been talking about here tonight. And so go ahead and enter, and I hope you all win. All of you. Well, at least 3 of you.
Yeah.
And everybody else buy the books. Okay.
Yes.
Definitely buy the books. Now, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up the show? We've got quite a bit of time left, so don't worry. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, wow. Just to say that I just would like to just thank everyone really for the support that we've had, in the time that we've been doing this. I have an amazing team, although I'm always the one that's doing all the speaking on behalf of the company. I would like to say that, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to do any of this without the amazing team that I have behind me, so it's probably a really good time to just thank a few key people, if you don't mind.
We do not mind.
Oh, excellent. I'm hoping they don't either, because they like to stay in the background, a lot of them. But first and foremost, I'd really like to just thank my business partner, Andrew Foster. He's been absolutely amazing. Had it not been for him, we wouldn't definitely not be an award-winning company. So I'd like to really say that on public record. I'd also like to just thank our business partners, mainly Dion Wilson, Dennis Pitocco, Eileen Build, Mac Bogart, all those key people there, they're all within my inner circle, and help me to do what I do, and make us so successful with what we do. So I'm very pleased to be in such good company.
So let me ask you this: how long have you had a publishing company?
Beauty and the Beast we'll be going into at this time. December next year will be 3 years. So we've had it 2 years this year.
Oh, relatively new then.
That's right. Yeah. So
yeah.
And then prior to that, I had a smaller one before I had that for, I would say maybe all coming up to 2 years. Yeah. So,
and how long since you published your first book? I know that you published in magazines prior to that, but your first book.
So my first book, I think I published in 2016, 2017. I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. And I guess I'd like to know why you decided to go into publishing. Was it because of what's happening in the writing field now, or?
I never thought that I would see myself being publisher. I just always thought that I would be an author.
Yeah.
But it was really important to me that I had the control as an author. So with that came the publishing. So when I realized that, prior to publishing my own work, I was publishing anyway, in terms of the editing that we were doing, and for the magazines that I was working on behalf of. And to be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy that work as much. I was just grateful for the skill, and I never thought that I would do it as in the big way that I do today. So I have to really be thankful for places like KEP and other publishing platforms that make it so much easier for me to do what I do. I just wish they wouldn't keep changing things as often as they do. But I suppose it helps to keep me on top of my skills. So I'm all for that. But yeah, I always wanted to be an author more than I was a publisher. But I'm so pleased that I do the publishing more so than I do the authoring. As you know, with the authoring, I can't do that as quickly as I publish other people's work, because I just couldn't get through the amount of work as often. But, I'm glad that I'm in a space where I can actively publish. We've done over 70 now. So I'm really pleased with those numbers, because it means that I'm then able to sort of assist somebody else in being published. There's enough room for everyone. And if I can't publish them all myself, at least I can say I've had a hand in over 70. So I'm pleased with that, to be able to contribute to those works.
Well, kind of hand in hand with that, I wanted to ask you which you get the most enjoyment out of. You're a ghostwriter, author, editor, publisher, and a writing coach. So you do all those things. Which one is your heart?
Author.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I would say as an author. I would say as an author, but I would also say that I'm more interested in the writing that I'm doing today. So McGorran's Beach would be, it's very important to me, but it's a closed chapter now, so I'm really pleased to kind of get that series done and under my belt. I don't think I can't say I don't think, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I don't think I'd be so keen to write another trilogy. I'd want to do just single pieces of writing. I like the articles that I'm writing, so I think I get more. That's why I'm probably so hesitant in answering, because I think I'm more liking the article work that I'm doing these days. The white papers that I'm writing. That stuff is so important. In terms of the work that I'm doing. So I see me more going down that route, rather than, and probably bringing out books more aligned to that, that's really where my interests are.
That's interesting, because that is what I was going to ask you, that if, what you see yourself writing in the future, if you would do any type of fiction again, and what type it would be. So really, You're saying you'd rather write articles.
I think so. I'd rather write nonfiction, I think. And I think if I'm not saying I'm adverse to a fiction. If I feel like I've got a good story here, I'm going to run with it. I just can't help myself. You know, I'm like any other author then. You know, I probably say to myself, I don't want to write just books for the sake of it. You know, I want to write stuff that is really meaningful to me. It's going to be impactful. It's going to change society, you know, or make a difference, you know, in the world. That's the kind of writing, because those are the people that I'm reading, you know, and, you know, I want to have my place there. So I suppose in terms of articles and collective writing as well, you know, like in the Humanity at Work book, you know, I would like to do more of that, you know, collective writing. And I think you get more books out that way as well, won't you? If I'm just contributing an article to that book, you know, and I'm writing with 40 other authors, I think that's a really great space to be in. I really do.
Yeah. So your heart's really right now in doing inspirational work, and also work that maybe would be educational, not educational as in learning math, but educational in exposing what the world is like, and how we can help change it.
Sure, more societal writing, like you say.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. That's very interesting.
Thank you. I'll still do the movie.
You feel like a slouch because
no, not
I haven't written anything like that.
But you have I think you have such an inspiring story to tell. So maybe it's yet to be written.
Yes. Well, I know which one you're referring to. And it's difficult for me to talk about without getting really emotional because of the injustice. And I don't know, you told us in the pre-show that you have a grandmother who's Irish, and I don't know if it's all Irish or just most of the Irish descent people that I know. We cannot stand injustice, you know. It just, I just don't like injustice, and it's and as Irish we often go to war about it, so you know, it's I really do not like injustice where I see it, and I do want to do something to change it. So in that respect, I've been more boots on the ground and putting my money where my mouth is instead of.
I think you've got a very, very interesting story, Jo. And I hope that one day you are in a position where you feel that you can share, you know, your story, because I think we need that kind of insight. We really do. Yeah,
I think I'm sure that there are a lot of people that saw things that I saw and felt the way that I felt, and I think for everyone to understand that and know that would help everyone on both sides of the spectrum. I think, I would hope.
You know, you remind me of Nadine Gordimer, who I admire so much. You really do.
No, I'm blushing.
No, you got Nadine Gordimer vibes. That's what you're giving me.
It's funny. Right now, we're actually writing. It started out as one book, an autobiographical book because we have 6 children and 14 grandchildren, and
congratulations.
Yeah.
We're still here.
Yeah.
We're still standing.
I have a lot of white hair, but
I have no hair.
But we're here.
I'm very gray underneath all this.
My hair used to be red.
I used to have hair.
I used to have red hair as well. Yes.
Did you? Yeah.
Every shade you could think of in red.
And we started writing a book about all the crazy things that has happened to our family while we were on vacations and trips, because they're really crazy stories, and they're the kind of stories especially I think the one that we've opened the book with, so many things happened in the first hour of the trip that literally people would say, did that really happen?
And why didn't you go back home?
Oh, definitely.
Why didn't you turn around and go home?
Uh-huh. And I mean, it's just insane what we saw and experienced in the first hour, and it only went on from there. What should have been, how many hours should that drive have taken us?
6 maybe.
6-hour drive. 15 hours later, we still weren't there. We were in 2 separate vehicles. It was way back in the day before cell phones or anything. So each parent was driving a different vehicle. Were you towing a pop-up camper?
Mm-hmm.
And he was towing a pop-up camper. I got to be in the Trans Am. I'm not stupid. And
so I am.
And so, no, you're just more skilled than I am.
Oh, okay. Good cover.
So the kids would hold up signs, right? We'd have them write signs with magic marker in a cardboard and pull up beside the other person if we needed something, right? And about 15 hours in, I had my daughter write up a sign that says, Mom says, pull over right now. And I said to him, I have had it. We need to find a place to stay, like right now. And so instead of finishing the rest of the trip, we stopped in a motel for the night instead of going on to the campground, because it was just insane. And when we got to that motel, we pulled in, and like I said, he was driving a station wagon that was towing a pop-up camper, and it was packed with all kinds of stuff. And I was in the Trans Am. So when I pulled into the motel, I pulled into the slot for that room. He pulled in across a couple of parking spaces across the way from it, because, you know, it had a trailer on it. And we were on the bottom floor, the first floor. And on the second floor, when I pulled up, there was this, what looked like a metal band. This was back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so there were these guys drinking beer out of beer bottles, and they didn't have any shirts on. They just had leather vests, and they had, 80s, maybe it was the early 80s, and they had on spike collars and long hair. And we pulled up, and the one guy takes his beer bottle and points towards Rob's car and says, "Oh, look, it's the Griswolds." And they're all laughing. I'm in my car right underneath where they're standing. So I get out of the car, and I know that all 6 of the kids are like, uh-oh, Mom's mad. And I looked up at them, and I said, I yelled, "You just shut up. I've been driving for 15 hours. I'm exhausted. Just shut up. That is my husband. Those are my children. We are going in here. We're going to bed. I do not want to hear a door slam. I do not want to hear you walking. I do not want to hear a beer bottle drink. Do you understand me?" And these really tough-looking heavy metal guys go, "Yes, ma'am." And turn around and walk into the room and slowly
we didn't
close
hear
the door.
Anything from them again?
No, not a peep.
Good for you.
But that really happened.
Yeah.
That's not a made-up story, but I think people would look at that and think, "Oh, that didn't happen."
So there's lots of stories, yes. But this is
totally
about you.
Agree with you. I can totally resonate with you there as well. I mean, my first ever book that I wrote about, funny enough, was called The Holiday of Discontent.
Yeah.
You know, so this is why I'm laughing so much, you know, and I just remember about what I wrote in there. That was my first official publication, but I, as I say, it wasn't independently done or anything like that. It was through that magazine that I was editing for, and that, I mean, we were on a canal boat, and we just managed to really flood it with us taking us with it. You know, I mean, like, canal water's only meant to be so shallow, isn't it? We were in a big canal and like just got trapped in there. It was just like the worst thing in the world, and nothing to like the boat was up like this when we finished, stuck in a lock, you know, with the Coast Guard coming by saying, "Hold on," you know, they'd never seen so much action in all their lives, you know, and you know, like we didn't own the boat at the time, you know, and somebody we knew had shares in it, and we couldn't even tell them because like they would have traveled from wherever they were to us to try and rescue their boat, and we had nothing to even empty the boat out with, so we had to use it was just the worst. We had to use like what do you call them things, like a dustpan and brush, you know, to sop all the
no
hilarious, you know. We were there for
the water would kind of seep out of that, wouldn't it?
And a pot, you know, like, you know, the pot from underneath, you know, and we were asking, there were people who felt so sorry for us, they were stopping by to see how they could help us, you know, to rescue us. It was just we had to, like you, we had to stay in a hotel that night, you know. And we had to stay a few days longer just so we could air the thing out, you know, to
right.
I bet.
Yeah, you know,
and
like,
you
writing in the
I'm
book.
talking about.
Yeah,
almost every one of our vacations went something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I must say that was the only one, and I never went on it ever again. You know, after that,
well, no matter what kind of vacation we went on, that is kind of the way that it went. So it didn't matter what you did. I mean, I remember one time we were driving through the redwoods, and it was all switchback trails, and everyone got car sick. We pulled over to the side of the road, and this whole motorcycle gang of Hell's Angels came up and pulled up beside us, and our kids are all like, "Oh my God." And then
did we cut them off back there or something? Oh no.
Are they going to murder us? And meanwhile, we're all getting sick over the edge of this cliff, right? And they jump off their motorcycles, and they all went over to the side, and they got sick.
They were all getting sick too. So.
And they jumped back on their motorcycles, and they said, "This is a beast, isn't it?" It was pretty funny, though. I mean, you see a whole bunch of Hell's Angels ride up on motorcycles, and you don't think you're gonna bond.
Yeah, not very well.
But we did.
We did. So let me ask you the question that I usually ask all of our guests.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody who wants to set out in writing but isn't really got the bravery to do it?
Just get on with it. Just write. You know, there's nothing you can do except to write. You know, we can't work with an idea. We can't, you know, there's very little, you know, that can be done. I mean, you can work with an idea, but you've got to get it down, written, so that someone else can see it. So written or typed, however you wish to present it, you know, but it's got to be in a legible format for somebody else to interpret it and be able to bring it to fruition and give it the life that it needs. So just write, you know. I won't worry about whether you're an expert, you know. Just think about when you were last at school and you had to write a story and take it from there. You know, that's what I would do, you know, and just write. Because if you've got like a really good story, it doesn't matter how well it's written, you know, that's not really there's editors for that. There's proofreaders for that. You know, that's not your concern. Your concern is to be able to translate what's all up in here, you know, down on that paper so that somebody else can understand it, you know, or just understand the idea. And if you can't write it, then please get somebody else to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, not really.
Okay. Cool.
Not that I can think of, except that we need more authentic writers in the industry. You know, let's not be doing the copycat thing. You know, we're all have our own unique stories to offer and tell. You know, there's a place for all of us, and everybody should have a story. Everyone should have a book, so we've all got something to learn from each other.
Right, that's very true.
Everybody does have a story, but I think some people don't realize they have a story.
Right.
But they need to realize
or
they
the
do
ability
have.
to put it on the paper.
Yeah.
But I think some people also think nobody wants to hear this.
Right, exactly.
But they do.
They do. They need to.
That's
How are we
learn
going to
from
learn
each
about
other.
you? People, all these people that have dropped off the face of the earth and have never told their stories. There's all those hidden talents, that we've got to change that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, thank you so much for joining us
Yes.
from across the pond
Mhm.
tonight. And I hope everybody gets onto your website and really enjoys what's there. You've got a wealth of stuff on your website there, wealth of information. It was very good meeting you, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to move you over to the side. Let's see if I can get you moved up. There we go. Sometimes it sticks. So, no, it doesn't. Not really. Okay. Want to remind everybody about Episode Rewind this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. And right where you're at right now, episode 44. Next Wednesday is October 5th, and at 7 o'clock, our regular show. Join us for the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Reveal Part 3.
Oh my gosh.
Already.
Wow.
We have Linda Pirtle with Book 7 of the Magnolia Bluff series. That's releasing in October. Kelly Marshall with Book 8. That'll be released in November. And Jinx Schwartz, Book 9 for December. So all three of those authors will be on the show and telling about their part in the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles.
Can you believe that?
No,
that's
crazy.
Finally coming to an end. That went by fast.
Yeah, but there's going to be another year. So here we go again, right?
Yep, Series 2.
Series 2. Coming up in October after that, October 12th, and Angela Hankins will be on. October 19th is Aiken Chang Lim. I'm not sure if I pronounced her name correctly, but she's going to be on the 19th. And October 26th, Marcy and Rob Korn will be on. So we've got a good month coming up in October. And do you have anything else you would like to share?
No, I talked enough.
You talked enough. Okay.
I did.
All right, then. Well, let me find out where we are here. Here we are right here. Until next time, then.
That's all, folks. Good night.
Night.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.